Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays with Kelsey and Dill. I am that second half of that Kelsey and Dill. I am Dill.
And I'm the first half, Kelsey.
Yeah. Who's best, first or second? I think it's what is the first is the worst,
First
second is
is
the
the
best.
worst, second is the best.
Sorry, Kels. Actually, third is the one with the hairy chest, and the one with the hairy chest right now is Chris Evans. He's down there because we are talking about Chris Evans this week. 2 weeks ago, we gave you a Scarlett Johansson Avengers Movie Club. We had a lot of fun with it, actually. And we're doing it again with Chris Evans because we figured first Avenger, he should be one of the first movie clubs. And basically what that means is we look at an Avenger and we look at 3 of their other movies outside of the MCU. So this week we are talking about Not Another Teen Movie, Snowpiercer, and Knives Out. Couldn't be more different. If you see us in the same clothes, it's because this is a pre-taped episode because Kelsey is roaming the Irish hills of Ireland right now. Kelsey, are you having a good time in Ireland right now?
And you know what? I hope I'm having a blast in Ireland right now.
I hope so too.
I'm throwing back some pints, if you will, in a pub.
Singing a nice sea shanty.
Yeah.
So Kelsey's in Ireland, but we taped this well ahead of time because we want her to enjoy her vacation and not be trying to stream and record a podcast in her hotel room while I am probably at least 12 hours back time difference. I don't know what the time difference is.
I think they're 6 hours ahead. Like Ireland,
Okay, so
the UK area is 6 hours ahead.
Oh, so it's not too bad. So like I could do like midnight, and you could be at 6 a.m. time, waking up at 6 a.m. to a podcast. It'd be great.
Yeah, no, I was not doing that on my vacation.
I'm kidding. Anyway, we are here. I know What If just came out, and everyone's like, "Why aren't you talking about What If?" It's because Kelsey's on vacation and she won't be able to watch What If. She will get back. She will land. She will watch What If, and we will cover the first 2 episodes of What If on next week's podcast, which I believe, if I'm correct in reading, are the Captain Carter and the T'Challa as Star-Lord episodes. I think those are the 2 first episodes. Is Captain Carter and then T'Challa as Star-Lord, but I'm not 100% sure if that's correct. But if those are the right episodes, then we'll be covering those next week.
Great.
Kelsey, what is the Marvel news you wanted to bring to the table today for this podcast?
Oh, so I was just reading this BuzzFeed article. Maybe I can see when it was posted. I don't know when it was posted, but they were breaking down all these scenes that almost happened. They almost took place in the MCU. And I just wanted to, as much as I would love to talk about all of them, one of them really caught my attention just because it happened in, I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up the date. Oh, this article was published on July 24th, 2021. Okay. So pretty recent. One of them caught my attention just because it has to do with the latest MCU film, which was Black Widow. And it has to do with that end credit scene we got with Florence Pugh and cool. Julia Louis-Dreyfus. So if you haven't seen Black Widow and you haven't seen the post-credit scene, I'm so sorry those 2 people are in it. I'm assuming if you're listening to this podcast, you are up to date with all things Marvel. So, but as we all know, the first thing that we saw Yelena do in that scene was she did the iconic whistle to the grave, and all fans everywhere waited patiently for a whistle back, but instead we got Valentina's character there. And you know, Kate Shortland did talk. A whistle back was in the talks while writing this scene and coming up with this moment. And Kate Shortland did confirm that she did talk about having a whistle back in that moment, which I thought was rather interesting because that would have changed, you know, the game, I feel like, for Scarlet, for Black Widow, just to have that tiny little addition in the scene.
It was going to be a whistle and then it was going to cut to black?
No, it was going to cut. She was going to have the whistle back.
But was it going to be Valentina whistling back or Black Widow?
I mean, I'm assuming it was going to be Natasha whistling back, so because Natasha who else would know how to do the whistle back other than Natasha? So it's interesting that even with just that split second decision to like not keep it in, that like changes the perspective of the future of the MCU and Natasha's character and all that for fans. So, but yeah, it surely was in consideration, dare I say, which is nice because, you know, We all wanted to be hopeful in that moment.
Yeah. But then that opens up a whole nother door. But you know, with Loki and with everything happening, you know, there that door may still be open.
N
Um,
No one ever truly dies in the
yeah,
MCU.
right.
Unless
Because
you're
we were
Tony Stark, I feel like you're really
right.
dead.
I think you're really dead, Tony. I'm sorry to say, and no, I won't go there. I won't go there with Quicksilver because we did kind of get a little bit of
Oh, let's
Quicksilver.
not even talk about
um,
Quicksilver. I cannot talk
yeah,
about that
nope.
anymore.
Now that Agents of Shield is done and out of canon, Phil Coulson's still dead, so there's that. Sorry, I'm just trying my best.
Wait, did they just, like, do their last season ever? I didn't even know there was
No,
so
I
many
just, I just,
episodes.
I just thought it was not canon anymore, so I figured it
Oh,
might still be going on. I don't know. I don't watch
there
that
was
show.
actually there was actually mention of, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. in that article where they were gonna
Oh,
explain why, that none of them were affected by Thanos' snap in Infinity
mm,
War because they're on a different timeline. So maybe
oh, okay.
Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon, it's just on not the sacred timeline.
Right. I wish
Haha.
I watched it, but it's just at this point it's a time commitment for something that's supposedly not canon. It's just there's other things to watch, and I feel
I'd
like
watch
every.
Agent Carter, though.
Oh, was it good?
No, I said I would.
Oh yeah, I would too. Maybe we'll do that sometime
Just because
if we have time.
Haley
Um,
Atwell.
I don't have any news this week just because it is also pre-taped, so anything that will be newsworthy is going to be like 3 weeks old by the time you're getting it. That was a very nice newsworthy piece because that could be timeless. Whereas mine is
Thank
just
you.
kind of like whatever. It was a casting thing for Hawkeye, but I feel like everyone knows at this point Vincent D'Onofrio might be coming back as Kingpin, who was in
Oh, right,
Daredevil,
yeah.
but that's even old news at the time we're recording it. So that might happen, but I don't want to speculate any more on that. Let's talk about Chris Evans himself right here, down
Let's do it.
smiling in the bottom of this video. If you're on audio, go check out the video and look at Chris's smiling face. So we are talking about 2001's Not Another Teen Movie, directed by Joel Gallen. 2013 Snowpiercer, directed by Bong Joon-ho, multiple Oscar winner Bong Joon-ho, and
Mhm.
2019's Knives Out, directed by Ryan Johnson, who I don't believe is an Oscar winner, but might be someday because he's great. So let's start with Not Another Teen Movie. We wanted to kind of make this movie club like their most critically acclaimed films, but also like what was one of their big breakouts. We talked about Lost in Translation with Scarlett, which was both a breakout and a critical acclaimed hit. This is a movie that I think was more of a breakout for Chris Evans than it was a critically acclaimed hit. But we're gonna talk about it anyway because it's pretty fun. So Not Another Teen Movie, directed by Joe Gallen, written by so many people, starring so many people, familiar people.
Mhm.
Kelsey, give us the lowdown on Not Another Teen Movie.
All right. In a movie parody of all the cliches and tropes of classic teen movies, Chris Evans plays Jake Weiler, a football quarterback who is dared by his friends to make the outcast of the school the prom queen.
Yeah, so it's a very formulaic, very stereotypical teen movie, but it
Yes.
knows that and it says that
Yeah.
going in.
It's
Um,
self-aware for sure.
yes. Have you seen this movie before, or was this the
I've
first time?
never seen this movie before. This is my first time seeing
I
it.
have I have not either. And I will
And
admit,
you don't have to. You don't
um,
have to.
it's one of those movies that like I feel like if I saw this in middle school, I'd probably really love. But
Yeah.
now it's a little less with the times, I'd say.
Yeah,
Um,
very
beca-
dated.
but like there were moments that made me laugh, and I think Chris Evans is very good in it. He's actually really good in it. Um,
Yes, I will
and we,
say his performance was the saving grace of this movie. And it's
um,
really not. I feel like I'm making it seem like this is like a terrible movie. It's really
no,
not. I did write that it's not a great movie, but for a debut, like Chris Evans could have done like way worse.
hmm
It's
yeah,
just very dated and it's very like 2000s humor.
hmm
And I feel like even if you watch a comedy, I feel like you recently watched Bridesmaids and that was only 2011. And I feel like you
yeah,
watched a comedy from 2011 and it's dated already, you know?
yeah,
So you
somewhat. I
just
mean, I
kind of
still
have to
love it, but yeah.
yeah, no, it's still very funny, comedic women in that
I
movie.
mean,
So
Melissa McCarthy shitting in a sink. Does that ever
I
get
mean,
dated? Who
that's
knows?
timeless humor right there,
Right,
really.
exactly.
But
Um,
you really have to strap yourself in and get into the mindset. If you like movies like the scary movies where they're, making fun of all the scary movie tropes and things like that. If you're into movies like that, you'd like this one.
mhm. I think I saw
Or
like
what's that other movie
epic
called?
movie. I
Epic
think like
movie.
epic
So
movie, disaster movie. Those ones like
movie 43 maybe?
I don't know. I haven't seen that one. That one has really
I
bad
haven't seen
reviews,
that one
but
either, but
um,
it's very reminiscent of
yeah.
this.
But like epic movie, it felt like, oh, we're gonna do this scene now, and then this scene now, and then this scene now. Whereas this one at least kind of has a story, and then like the homages to other movies are kind of filtered in there, rather than it just being, all right, now we're gonna do the 10 things I hate about you scene. Now we're gonna do the American Pie scene. Now we're gonna do the Ferris Bueller's Day Off scene. Instead, it's
Yeah.
like we're gonna do this, and oh, this is a good time to put in a reference, and this is a good time to weave this in. So I think the actual use of the other movies and the homages is more cleverly done here than in some of the other parodies, which I
Sure.
appreciated. It's just the humor itself, as you said, is very dated. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a full character, and I'm gonna add him because I'm a huge movie trivia Schmodown fan. But Sam Levine, who is
Mm.
a manager in the Schmodown now,
Yep. 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 Yep.
he is one of my favorite people to watch. He's a movie trivia champion. He retired, became a manager in the Schmodown. I'm a huge fan of his. I'm a huge Schmodown fan, but this character is one of the most offensive characters in the history of film. He's a young kid who thinks he's Asian. Like, it is so bad. That, I mean, and nothing on him. Like, he got the script, he got the job, he got a lot of money for it, and he was very young. So good for him for getting a role this young and making the money and like making a name for himself. But I mean,
Yep.
that role in particular just felt the most dated to me. I was like, wow.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
then even like the other two characters who mock him because they're like they think he thinks he's Asian. That's whack. And then they're clearly like trying to be
Be
like
black. Yeah.
ethnic, and I'm like,
Hmm.
oh, this just
Yeah.
hurts. Watching this
And,
just hurts.
and then the other moment I hate is the Bring It On moment where the white girls all steal the black girls' choreography.
Yep, 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 yep.
And it's very clear, but yeah, the language, it's a lot.
Yeah.
And it's very much reminiscent of a specific time period. What's up,
I
Kels?
I mean, I was gonna say, like, just the opening of this movie, the
Mhm.
opening scene of this movie, I was like, oh boy, so we're starting off
Yeah.
we're starting off with a doozy
I'll
here.
admit though, it's a good like it's funny, it's hilarious. I mean, because it's also like it's nothing offensive. It's just funny sex humor. And honestly, I wish the whole
Yeah.
movie was like that. Even like the naked girl, like
Oh
that's a
my
little dated,
god. And I was like,
but it did make me laugh just because like you don't expect it. It's
sure.
very shocking. Um,
Yeah.
and again, if you haven't seen this movie, we're throwing a bunch of scenes at you that you have no idea for context. But like if you watch this movie, you'll understand. But like there's some weird stuff that like only makes sense with context. I mean, this opening scene, she's basically masturbating. She has a dildo, and her family all walks in on her because it's her birthday, and they come in with a cake, and
Yeah.
then the
Yep.
dildo ends up flying through the air and into the cake, and it's amazing. Like it's
Yeah.
one of those things where I was in a like not amazing in the fact that like it's an Oscar worthy scene, but like amazing in the sense that I was amazed. I was fully amazed. I was like, how what huh? Like
No, yeah.
and we got to talk about it also. Kyler Lee from
Grey's
Grey's
Anatomy.
Anatomy. We're big
Yep.
fans. It's Lexi
Lexi
Gray,
Gray
man.
herself.
Yeah. Again, like the performances aren't terrible either. I think she's good, and I think
Yeah.
he's very good, Chris. But let's talk about Chris Evans in this. Like, he does this feel very Captain America because at times I'm like absolutely not, but there are some scenes where I was like, this does show the spark of what Steve Rogers would one day become. Like the football scenes when he's like giving the
Yes.
pep talk to the football team.
Yes.
I was like, I'm
100%.
getting some Steve Rogers here. I am.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Listen, I just thought it was great to like see him in a comedy. I mean, as
Hmm.
Steve Rogers, like he does have some comedic moments, but his Steve Rogers' story is pretty tragic, so we don't get
Right.
to see a ton of humor from him there. But I thought, he was really doing great in a comedy. I'd love
Yeah.
to see him in more comedies.
Right.
I feel like
He's very funny.
he does a lot of drama for
Hmm.
whatever reason.
Yeah.
But
Well, because he has that really good grizzled, like straight man, like
sure.
buff. Like he puts that persona on well. He is an action star. He does have the body and the physique. Well, body and physique are the same thing, but like the also like the type of energy for that, like to
Sure.
be this leading man. But this is funny too, and again, like at the end, you get those more emotional moments, like where he is kind of like becoming a little softer, and like those are the glimpses where I'm like, no, like this is a very good first showing, and this is
Yeah.
something that like I'm sure got a lot of people's attention and was like, he could be a good actor.
Yeah.
Because we saw with Kyler Lee, she didn't really have that type of career. She was in Grays, which was great, but she never became a movie star. But I mean,
Mhm.
you look at this cast, like Chris Evans became a movie star. I'm looking at the cast now. There's really no one else. I mean, Randy Quaid, but he's already older. Like he was an already established actor. Josh Radnor, who plays the tour guide, ended up being the lead in How I Met Your Mother. So there was
Yes.
that.
Yeah, I literally said I was like, Ted Mosby
Yeah.
is in this movie?
but otherwise, like, I mean, all the bigger stars are the ones that were already stars, like Mr. T as the guy
Mhm.
giving the pep talk on the bench, like, he was already established. I mean, Molly
Was
Ringwald as the flight attendant at the end.
was Jamie Presley huge when this movie came out, or was this kind of a more of a come up for her as well?
I don't know, but even then, like,
'Cause I know
I
that she was big, like, in the 2000s.
yeah, I think this
Sorry,
was, like,
that's
one of her
mean.
first things for sure, yeah. But even then, like, I don't consider Jamie Presley a huge superstar. Like, I don't really
No,
I
yeah.
recognize her, but she's not, like,
Mhm.
someone that I'm like, "Oh my god, Jamie Presley was in this?" You know what I mean? Um, but yeah, I was just talking about it, like, Molly Ringwald, her cameo is great too, because she's the
Yeah.
star of Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, 16
Yep.
Candles, and she's here at the end, like, in probably the funniest role in the movie, one of them. Just like, yeah, you cut the bullshit, like,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's so good.
And she just walks
Um,
away, she's like, "Ah, teenagers."
right. And then you have Paul Gleason as the guy from the Breakfast Club playing the guy from the Breakfast Club again.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Richard Vernon? I think that's his name.
yes, yes, good job. Wow, you should be a Schmodown
I
competitor,
should be on
Kelsey.
Schmodown.
You should be.
I'd only do it if you could be my manager, Dill.
Okay, I'll
Because
pitch that to
you'd
Christian and
prep
see.
me
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, but again, like, it's one of those movies that I think if you get the movies they're referencing, it's a lot of fun. But even if it's
Yeah.
not, like, I think it's a good enough story on its own that you could still follow. It's not like epic movie where it's like I don't know what the hell they're parodying right now.
Yeah.
That movie's a train wreck. But what were you gonna say, Kelsey?
I was gonna say, like, I thought it was so weird. I was like the three like mean girls, like Jamie Presley plays like basically the main like mean girl in the movie, and she has
Hmm.
like obviously like two followers who follows her around. They all wear pink, and I'm like, oh my god, they're making fun of Mean Girls. And then I realized this movie came out in 2001. Mean Girls did not come out until
Yeah.
2004, and I was like, wait, this is
Well,
so trippy.
and did you notice one of the Mean Girls is in this? Did you recognize her?
Oh, yes,
Gretchen Wieners
yes,
is
Gretchen Wieners in it. What's her name?
Lacey Chabert
Chamber?
Chabert Shabert. Anyway, Lacey plays Amanda, the
Yes.
one that Sam Levine and all and his little crew wanna get with. Um,
Yes.
and like, yeah, the sex humor, it's a little much at times, but like I feel like if I was a middle schooler, I'd love this movie. And it's just one of those things that if I had seen it as a middle schooler, I would have had the nostalgia and enjoyed it watching it now. But
Sure.
some of this movie was just like, oh boy. But
No,
again, like,
yeah.
it's a good representation of what Chris Evans would become because he shows glimpses of really good acting in this.
Yeah. No, he
Um,
does. I
yeah,
feel like he takes his character like, he stays really true to his character, like, he's taking him seriously, but not to the point where it's, like, too serious, like, I you can tell he like, he's definitely still having fun with it
right.
as, like, Jake Weiler, but,
Hmm.
you know, he's not hamming anything up. He's
Right.
giving just the right amount, which I think
Hmm.
was great.
And the best gag is not even something he says, but it's when he comes out in that whipped cream.
Yeah.
The Varsity
The, like,
Blues, I think it
the
is.
bikini, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
moment.
yeah. The bikini, and then he comes out and he turns around and he has the banana in his
Yep.
butthole.
Yep.
Which, yeah, it's very shocking, jarring humor, and I think the shocking stuff like that was worked better than like the racial and like dated stereotype dialogue. Obviously, like, I think the visuals are funnier than the dialogue, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Um,
Surprisingly, Dill, you know what character I actually really liked? His sister, who was, like,
really?
making fun of, Cruel Intentions?
Well, that one scene, yes, the Cruel Intentions with the kiss, that is definitely Cruel
But
Intentions.
what's the movie then with also Sarah Michelle Gellar,
Um,
where, like, that really is the whole plot, is that she's hooking up with, like, her stepbrother or something? I thought
it
it was
might
Cruel
be. It
Intentions.
might be. I've never actually seen Cruel Intentions,
I've
so
never seen it either, but I do know
um,
that that's what it's about.
then that's it. Yeah, I don't know. But that scene where she makes out with the girl is definitely from Cruel Intentions because
Oh, the
every
old
young boy,
lady?
every young boy has seen that scene. So like, I definitely can tell you that is from Cruel Intentions because I've seen that scene probably too many times as a child, and this was a hilarious parody with the old lady who's never been kissed. I've never been kissed. Like, oh my god, it's this gross, wet, slobbery kiss, like that kind of stuff. Like I'm saying, the visual gags are hilarious in this
Yeah.
movie. And that left my jaw just on the floor. I was appalled. In a good way. Like, it was a funny, appalled. Yeah, she was very good. I'm trying to find the actress's name. I don't know.
Her name's like
Mia Kirshner.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mia Kirshner, who was on, who's in Star Trek Discovery now. So she's still working, and she was on 24, another show that my parents loved that I never got around to. But yeah, so she had a good career too. Mia Kirshner, yeah, she's very good in this. It's very funny, her and Chris Evans' dynamic in this for sure.
Yeah.
hmm
No,
So, Kels, I know you gave it you give a score. Why don't you explain your scoring system and then tell us what you gave it?
Sure. So I go into all these movies since we started doing movie club with the intention of if someone really walked away from the MCU going, "Oh my god, like I loved Chris Evans. Like what else has he been in?" How strongly I would recommend each of these movies to
hmm
said person. And this time around, last time it was the ScarJo scale. This is the Evans scale. I was trying to think of something kitschy that went along with Chris Evans's name. I couldn't really think of like an E. Like I was like the Evans-o-meter. Like I was going through a bunch of things. I couldn't really
Evometer? Not really. No.
I don't know. Maybe like the Evans evaluator. I think I thought of at some point. I just went with the Evans scale just because I
Yeah,
liked it.
that's sweet
Um,
and simple.
and this one I gave a 4.5.
Okay. Yeah.
I gave Lost in Translation a 4 because I went back and I was like, what did I give Lost in Translation? Because I would definitely recommend this one before I recommended Lost in
Mhm.
Translation. Just because
Yeah.
like I thought that movie was so boring. At least this one's like mindlessly entertaining.
Right.
I
Mhm.
did also write down all the times that I laughed because, I wasn't laughing a lot at this
Okay.
movie didn't this comedy didn't have me on the floor laughing for a multitude
It
of
wasn't an
reasons.
ROFL. Yeah.
But the times that I did let out like an LOL, a laugh out loud, was when when the albino girl was singing with the guitar and she just goes, "I have no pigment." like like they're like take walking them through. Okay, so the scene is like him and his friends are trying to find him like the perfect like weird outcast girl to that
Mhm.
they can be like, "Oh, I bet you can't make her prom queen." And they're just like a girl with like a hunchback walks by and they're like, "No, like hunchback Sally, no, she's too easy. Oh, what about her?" And they just cut to like a shot of this albino girl. They have her like painted white. She's wearing like a powdered wig and
Yeah.
she's like singing with a guitar. I did laugh out loud.
Yeah.
And the
You just did
second
now
time,
describing it. So there you go.
yeah, the second time is actually kind of bad. I understand that this is not an appropriate thing
Okay.
to make fun
It's
of
fine. You're gonna get
today.
canceled for this, but it's okay. Get ready, people
But
in the comments. Just get ready to cancel Kilpatrick.
yeah, Kelsey Kilpatrick is over party. It's ready to go. I'm actually the president of that club. It's the cheerleader, like the tryout scene, the
Yeah.
cheerleader with
Oh, the tryout.
Tourette's.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah.
she's just screaming out these like obscenities and like I think the only reason why I laughed, I don't think like people who have Tourette's is funny. I just think the only reason why I laughed is because it was just so out of left field that
Yeah.
I
It
just
took you
like
for
did
surprise.
not expect for
hmm
all of the nonsense to come out of her mouth like
Yeah.
at all. Like it
The
just
shock
took me
value.
by
Yeah.
surprise. I was like,
hmm
"Oh my god." It was
Yeah.
more like nervous laughter
Right.
than
Right.
it was
And then
like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious."
it happens again at the party, and she outs this guy as gay, and he's like, well, "Who told you? Who told you? Did she tell you?" Yeah.
Oh my
Um.
god, I totally missed that moment. But
Yeah.
then it
It's in
happens.
the montage with all the other party stuff. Like, there's that one scene where it kind of
Oh,
just goes through the
okay.
hallway, and you hear
Ye
every little person's conversation. He walks
Oh,
up to her
okay.
with a drink, and she like spats out something with her Tourette's about like he's like a gay, and then she uses the F word, the offensive F word, and something, and then he kind of like looks around. He's like, "Who told you? Did my sister tell you all this stuff?" So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that was funny. It's the guy with the turtleneck. So
Oh,
um
okay.
yeah. Yeah, there's some shock humor. So those are the only two laugh out loud moments for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I'd have to say I think one of them was definitely the Chris Evans banana. I just it took me by surprise.
That was
But like
more of like a moment where I just said, "Oh my god," like
yeah,
out
yeah, yeah,
loud,
yeah.
you
Yeah, it
know?
was probably the same thing too. Yeah, but I got to go back now and watch it again and keep track. This seems like a very good movie to like have all you watch with like a bunch of friends, but with the disclaimer of like, ooh, that's offensive, so you can like cheer for it and boo at some of it at the same
Yeah.
time. Like you can laugh at the good parts and boo at the bad parts. But it is still I'm hesitant to say it's a recommendation from me, but if you're intrigued by this and you want to see Chris Evans give like a very interesting, promising performance, I
Endearing
think,
performance
yeah,
for sure.
I think I do recommend it for that. So yeah, I'm about the same on your scale as you are. But let's transition now. Let's take the train to another film, to
Mhm.
Snowpiercer. And I know this is your first time because I've been trying to get you to watch this movie for a while.
Yes.
So I want to get your synopsis and your thoughts first. But again, 2013, directed by Bong Joon-ho, who of course went on to sweep the Oscars a few years ago, winning Best Director, Picture, and Screenplay, and Foreign Film for Parasite. So he's a four-time Oscar winner. This was one of his first English language films that he made, and definitely put him on the map here in America. So, Kels, tell us about Snowpiercer.
All right. After trying to chemically reverse global warming, humanity is forced to survive Earth's snowy landscape in an on-moving train where they are divided by socioeconomic status.
Yeah. What do you think, Kels?
Oh my god, Dill. What a film. What
Oh,
a
okay.
film. I can't believe this one isn't talked about more. I can't
hmm
believe that it didn't get like any acclaim, like the status, like I feel like no one like talks about this movie.
Yeah, this
And
happens a lot with foreign directors where like they'll make a really good movie that doesn't get much acclaim. They'll make an American movie that now people are like, "Oh, this is a foreign film director who's did an American film. Like this is pretty good." And then
mhm.
his next movie ends up being a hit, and that's kind of what happened with him. He made this and
Mm,
Okja. Okja's on Netflix. So he made these two movies that like made a good statement, but then like it was Parasite that really made him a monumental name in film. And I think now because Parasite was so successful, people are now going back to discover this. But Kelsey, please tell us your
I
thoughts.
mean, I just wrote down. I was like, this is such a complicated movie because one minute I'm concerned, the next minute I'm sad, the next minute I'm scared, and then the next minute I'm laughing. Like it just
Mm-hmm.
has like so many different elements to it. Like
Mm-hmm.
obviously like I feel like it's a shame because, I feel like based off like the trailer, like you kind of just see this like, dystopian action stereotypical movie almost where it's just like, oh, this is what humanity has to do for survival. It has like, as you said, like kind of like really an action star as the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Evans was just coming off doing Captain America the First Avenger,
Right.
right before this. And I just feel like it just didn't get the attention that it deserves because
Mm-hmm.
it's just so much more than that. Like
It is.
it the inclusion of like comedy, just like all of the different like very complex characters. Like I
Yeah.
just think it was just such a well-written
Mm-hmm.
concept, and you really do like fall in love with each and every one of the characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's also just a jungle gym of fun set pieces. Like it
Mhm.
really is, because with every train car, there's something else, like something's new,
Yes.
and they
The set
really
design is
they
awesome.
really dive into it. I'll be honest, the actual visuals of the train on the tracks from the outside look kind of like subpar dated
Sure.
effects, but
Yeah.
inside, like that greenhouse and then the aquarium, the
Mhm.
schoolhouse, like it's like a chocolate factory. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Every
Mhm.
room you go in, it's something new and amazing. Like, and Bong Joon Ho is so famous for like these social commentaries,
Mhm.
but not just making it social commentary of the movie. Instead, it's an action movie where you can funnel in the social commentaries. And I think it's just brilliant how he does that. Like this different the classes and how this first part of the movie set here, and then it gets into this other part of the movie, and then there's that ending where it kind of like turns everything upside down and kind of reevaluates and reassesses it to then have this really really chilling, no pun intended, conclusion.
Yeah.
um because the end is it's one of those endings where I'm like wow, and then I'm like whoa, and and it's a little bit not too subtle with the messaging at the end. Just the fact that like things are healing again, life is now reborn and rebirth and all this stuff. But
Sure.
I do think it's a really really great social commentary through and through. And the performances are great, like you said. Like everyone, you either love or hate every single character.
Mhm.
We'll get to Chris Evans in a sec, but another Marvel star we have to talk about, the ancient one, Tilda Swinton as Minister Mason. What?
Which one was she?
She was like the one who was like the spokesperson for Wilford. Wilford.
The lady with the
Yeah.
glasses? That was Tilda Swinton?
Mm-hmm.
Hold
Right?
on.
She's a chameleon. She's a chameleon. She
Hold
just
the phone.
wow, I just blew Kelsey's mind quicker
I
than that
had
last explosion.
no idea.
Um,
Maybe it
it,
was.
Tilda Swinton says that her character is a mix of Margaret Thatcher, the colonial Gaddafi, Adolf Hitler, and Silvio Berlusconi. So that's quite the Mount Rushmore of terrible people to model a character after. But hey,
Oh my
yep.
god.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that awesome?
She
I think she's great in this. I mean, she's one of the people that you don't love, but I think she does the role so well. What
I
are
don't
you thinking?
recognize her at all.
Yeah, show a picture to the screen for people. Like, yep, there she is. Yep, that's the ancient one. I know, total chameleon, in that role. But anyway, what do you think of her, Kels?
She was awesome. I mean, she
Yeah.
was like a character you just love to hate
Hmm.
because she's just so infuriating. Like she loves the fact that like, oh, this guy, this poor man threw his shoe at the lady for taking his son, and now his punishment is that he has to hold out his arm in the
Oh yeah.
freezing cold to the
Hmm.
point where it just becomes hard as a rock, and then they like axe it off of his body, and she's just
That
eating it up. She's loving it, and it's just like, oh my god, this lady sucks. And then
That
she
moment,
finally,
yeah, that moment, my dad, when we watched it for the first time it was during the pandemic last year. He was just amazed because he always loves movies that just like shock him, like do something totally different that he's never seen before. And he said that moment where they just cut the arm off, where they essentially just freeze it so much that they can just tip it off, like that.
yeah,
That scene is just yeah, like it really is. It's one of those. It's very visceral, gut wrenching scene. And I think
mm-hmm,
that's the nice thing about Bong Joon Ho is that like he is making the film. He is making a Korean film, but with U.S. distribution. So you still have like the Korean like nature of being able to go bold with those choices that like a normal Hollywood films sometimes don't take those risks. But then getting the
sure,
distribution to then show it to us in America
yeah,
and say like this is my cinema. And yeah, I just think it's a very very polarizing, again no pun intended, scene. um so
yeah,
that was a
yeah,
good
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yeah. Now let's talk about Chris Evans though, because Chris Evans really does show so much good acting in this film.
mm-hmm,
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
just yeah.
I
Go
mean,
ahead.
right off the bat, I wrote down like Chris is really good at making his characters like really likable. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if that's just like a bias for me because like I do know Chris Evans as most people probably do best as Steve Rogers, the arguably the most likable character in cinema, depending on whether or not you're
Yeah,
Team Cap or Team Iron Man.
yeah. Well,
Um
still, even then, I think.
He's a very likable, charismatic dude, and I think Chris Evans just is like himself a very likable and charismatic dude, but he just brings like just a nice like softness to his characters no matter like how hard or evil they are, there's this part of you that relates to them in some way
Hmm.
and just enjoy like likes them enough where you want to see, follow the story with him at the helm, and I think he does that really well.
Yeah, because this is an ensemble film. Like you want to be able to know all the characters, but you need that
Mhm.
one person to kind of keep it together. And I feel like he kind of has that role in the MCU too. It's like the people around him might be more colorful personalities, but he's the grounded one that keeps it all together. He's the glue, and I think
Yeah.
you see that a lot here, and you kind of see that in not another teen movie, and in some cases. Not as much Knives Out because he is
Mm.
very much his own entity in that, but like he
Yeah.
really is this whole like holding down the fort, if you will, or holding down the train, I guess.
Yeah.
Because yeah, he does so many great acting. He has so many great acting moments. But again, like you're gonna walk away this movie with different favorite characters. But I think he's someone that is always gonna be like, no, but I still really like that character.
Mhm.
I don't know who my favorite character is. I love Song Kang Ho's role as the specialist who designed all the security on the train. Him and his daughter.
Yeah.
I really like
Yeah.
his role. I mean, this
They're a
is a
great dynamic duo in
yeah.
this film.
I mean, he works well with Bong Joon Ho because he was the lead of Parasite as well, and I love him in that movie as well. So, yeah, I love that character. But yeah, all these characters are so good. Even Ed Harris as Wilfred, or Wilford. It's not the most likable character, but he gives him a humanity to where like when it does kind of have, there's that little bit of a twist in the end. Like you can kind of see where he's coming from, but he's also really evil at the surface, and it's one of those very complex villains, which I really
Yeah.
like. Yeah.
I have to say though, my favorite character was probably Edgar.
Okay. Yeah.
And spoiler alert right now, but I
Hmm.
did write down like literally my second note on the page is, yo, if Edgar dies, I'm gonna be pissed. And as I wrote
Yeah.
that, he literally was like getting, held captive by one of the people, and then Chris Evans' character Curtis has to make the choice between going for the minister or saving his best friend. And in that moment, like he can't jeopardize the revolution, it's
Hmm.
all in motion, so he has to
Yeah.
sacrifice his friend Edgar in order to really get his hands on the minister, because he knows that this is it, there's
Yeah.
no going back.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but also again, like there's that theme of like there's a bigger power that that they are all trying to serve, not like religious, but like the whole goal is this revolution
It's
and
for the
breaking
greater
free.
good.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
because most of the characters in this die, like most of the characters die, there's two that
Yes,
don't.
that's what I was gonna say next
Yeah.
still, is that this movie really, like, keeps you on your toes, because it's not
Hmm.
stereotypical where you think that, like, oh, him and the best friend are obviously gonna make it to the end, and then there might be that sacrificial play where the best friend, lays down his life so that he can continue on. Like, the rate that the characters were killed off in this movie was so sporadic, like,
Hmm.
so, like, not time. Like, you don't have time really to mourn someone's death, because you're already on to the next death, and
Hmm.
you're like, oh, he's dead, and now we have to worry about this guy with all the axes, and now, oh my god, Octavia Spencer just got shot. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, she's
Like,
great too.
it's a
Yeah.
roller coaster of a film.
Yeah. Or a train ride, if you will. No,
I
that was
knew
bad.
you were
That was
gonna
bad.
say that.
Crazy
I
train.
knew as
Um,
soon as I said it, you were gonna follow up with that.
you gave me a vehicle on tracks, so I had to counter it with a vehicle on
Listen, I'm
tracks.
not mad. I'm just saying it was predictable.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's very sad, the different deaths. But again, like I think that's what I was saying earlier with Bong Joon-ho being a international filmmaker, is they take these risks sometimes in these films that
Mhm.
are a little bit less conventional to Hollywood. Like I'm thinking if Hollywood makes a movie like this, I don't know if it ends up being the same as the hero likely walks away, clean. Chris Evans likely survives this movie in a Hollywood production. That's why I
Mhm.
really do love this so much, and I do wish there was more creative freedom given to directors in general in a multitude of different genres and Hollywood budget levels. But I really like that, how it does keep you on your toes, like you said, and does try to subvert the expectations as much as it can while still making sense with the story. It's not just killing people off for shock value, but to actually serve a purpose in the story, which I really like.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree with you 100%.
Hmm.
Um
Yeah.
And I feel like we have to talk about the best, acting in the whole movie is his monologue at the end.
Yeah.
The whole monologue about what the beginning stages of being at the tail of the train was like. Oh
Hmm.
my god, talking about like the cannibalism, and
Yeah.
he was like, what I hate about myself, I hate that, like, I've tasted people and that I've almost
Ugh.
killed for food, and I know that
Yeah.
babies taste best. It's like, it's so graphic. You're not even seeing images of it at all. You're just hearing about it and hearing how this man is just breaking down. You almost realize in that moment that, like, this guy's kind of been like an anti-hero this whole time,
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
he's the whole reason why he's leading this whole revolution is because he really was like turned into the worst version of himself because of his circumstances. And really, like, I think that's the best acting I've seen Chris Evans do, just like
Yeah.
across the board. It was
I
so powerful.
I completely agree. I think this is the role that he gets the most like meat to work with. Like, because
Meat.
yes, because
Because
humans. Oh God, cannibalism. Yeah, um,
sorry.
yeah, but it really is a very tough role because he has
Yeah.
to be that kind of grounded hero, but also he has these other layers to him as well. Yeah, it's a really good performance, and I'm glad you finally
Oh
saw it
my
because I'm
god.
glad you liked it because it is very different. Like it all takes place in the same location, and like it's a lot of scientific stuff coming on with like the global warming and the reasons for this ice age to begin with, and then you have the different classes and like there's action, and some people are just like just not a huge fan of action just because it's action, it's people fighting each other. Sometimes it gets a little repetitive and stagnant for some people, but I do think, like you said, they do weave it all together so well. So it's like a little bit for everyone. It's just a really, really good hodgepodge of different, elements, and I
No,
really,
yeah.
really like it. Yeah.
It's layered.
What'd you give it on your scale?
On the Evans scale, I gave it a
Mhm.
7 out of 10.
Wow. Yeah. So you would recommend this one for sure.
I would definitely recommend this one. It's a great performance. It's a great movie.
Mhm.
It's just such a nice blend of all these
Yeah.
different genres. It
Mhm.
really like hit it out of the park for me.
Yeah. You have Chris Evans, and then you also have Tilda Swinton, which apparently we just found out now.
Yep.
And then Jamie Bell, who is not a MCU actor, but he is a Marvel actor because he played Ben Grimm in the remake of Fantastic Four. So if you're a fan of your buddy Edgar, then go ahead and watch Fantastic
Oh,
Four because he plays the Thing.
the remake or the original?
The Miles Teller one, the remake.
Okay.
Fan Four Stick, which is even worse than the original. So, which is funny because Chris Evans was in the first Fantastic Four, the original. So,
Yes, he was.
very interesting how that happens. So the arms cut off and the knives are out. That was a horrible segue. I do these segues on Picture This with Chad every month, and they sometimes work, but these ones sometimes they're hard. 3 movies trying to connect them is tough. I need a whole. Never mind. I was going to make a train joke about connectivity, but I'm not going to do it. Kelsey, tell us about Knives Out, directed by Ryan Johnson in 2019.
Detective Benoit Blanc is hired on a mysterious case where renowned author, what's his first name? The
Who?
character? It's
Chris
the
Evans?
Thromby. No. The guy who's murdered.
Harlan Thrombey.
Harlan Thrombey is his mysterious death. He investigates his mysterious death. I forgot to write a synopsis for that for this one, but this is my third watch through.
It's a
of
classic
Knives
movie
Out,
mystery.
so.
It's a movie mystery.
It's a whodunit. It's a whodunit.
But the brilliant thing about Knives Out, because we actually saw this together the first time we saw it in theaters.
We did.
We didn't know much about it, but the brilliant thing it does is it tells you who the killer is within the first 20 or 30 minutes, and then it's all about how the killer tries to cover her tracks, only for at the end of the film they tell you that she wasn't the killer after all, and that she was doing the right thing because she was so good at her job, and the killer was someone else. And I think that's what's so amazing, is because the first time we watched it, when you see that she's the one who gives him the wrong vial, you're like, oh shoot, like that's the killer.
This was all an accidental death.
Right. And then it's like, oh, now let's see how she gets away with it. This is super interesting. But then at the end, it's like, nope, you were fooled. She was right the whole time. She gave him the right stuff. And that's what's really interesting. And that's why I think this is such a better movie mystery than so many other movies like this, is because it's not just figuring out who killed. It's seeing who killed and then watching the retracing of the steps and then having your mind blown in the third act. Like, it's a perfect use of that 3-act structure, which I really like. I know you like this movie because we saw it together, but what are your thoughts watching this again after a few more viewings?
I mean, well, I'll start with, it's such a good film. I mean, like, it really is a good one. And I think we're going to have to talk about, Chris's role in this film. So spoiler alert.
He is the bad guy.
But he is the murderer. He's the bad guy, which we don't get to see a lot of, like, evil Chris Evans. So it was truly, truly delightful watching him.
This and Scott Pilgrim is the only times he's the villain.
Yeah. So. And Scott Pilgrim. What another like masterpiece.
If we ever want to revisit Chris Evans, or
is there any other Marvel actors in that one?
Brie Larson.
Boom! It has to be one of ours for Brie Larson's.
I have a lot of movies on the Brie Larson list for when we eventually get there, but we can talk. We can do Scott Pilgrim.
Scott Pilgrim has to be one of them. That's my one request.
Okay.
But yeah, he's just so delightful in this movie. I mean, I wrote down that some of his best moments are really not when he's talking. It's really just when he's like sitting around and just reacting to his
Hmm.
ridiculous family.
Yeah.
Like the whole will reading scene when he just has like the widest grin on his face the whole time. He's just
Hmm.
taking it all in because he knows what's about to happen. He knows they're all getting jack shit. And then especially the eat shit scene, the classic, you know what? You eat shit, eat shit, eat shit. Definitely eat shit. The scene
Yeah.
is so good. And you
It's
know
so
what? It's
different. Yeah.
really a star-studded cast, and you can tell that these are really really seasoned actors because they're just the energy is just bouncing off
Hmm.
one another, you know? I was always told you're only as good as much as your scene partner allows you to be,
Right.
and they were all just such great scene partners for one each
Hmm.
other because the cast just like elevates each other like
Yeah.
throughout the whole film.
You have actors who at the time were not even huge actors yet. Like Ana de Armas, the lead in this, she was um of course she wasn't Blade Runner 2049, but she wasn't the lead of that, and like this
Mhm.
was kind of her breakout. And then she of course she dated Ben Affleck, and now she's going to be Marilyn Monroe in the Marilyn Monroe movie. So like she's got a big career ahead of her. And Lakeith Stanfield too. Like he wasn't an Oscar nominee when this came out. This was after Get Out, but he had a smaller role in Get Out. He gets in this movie as the other detective, and then he ends up being
Yes.
Judas and the Black Messiah, and he gets an Oscar nomination. So
Yep, yep,
there are
yep.
some actors who are still on the up and up, but everyone else pretty much is so seasoned. Like Daniel Craig, I mean Michael Shannon, Jamie Lee Curtis, Don Johnson, Toni Collette. I mean Christopher Plummer himself, late great Christopher Plummer, rest in peace.
Oh,
Who is incredible in this as well.
yeah.
Um, and even the kids, Jaden Martell and Catherine Langford, you know, the younger people in this movie, are great too. Like it is such
Mhm.
a good cast all around. Is Chris Evans your favorite part of it? Because of this such a good cast. Like, who is your favorite?
I mean, Toni Collette, she's just like I feel like she just steals everything she does. Like
Yeah.
she really makes the most of like every moment that she's on
Hmm.
film. I think she's just one of my favorite actors,
Yeah.
like just in general.
Have you seen
Um,
Hereditary?
yes, I've seen
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I
Hereditary.
was gonna say she definitely like didn't get that Oscar nom and was like, "I'll show you Academy," and then did this movie. That's my
Yeah.
feeling. Because
Yeah.
she's so good in this. I agree.
Yeah.
My favorite. I've always loved Ana de Armas in this just because
She
she's
also
so.
gives such a
Yes, she just.
great endearing
Yeah,
performance in
because
this.
she thinks she's the killer the whole time, and that's what's so interesting
Mhm.
is because it's not like we're trying to the audience, you know, the audience isn't fooled. Like they saw what they saw. Like we see the murder take place, which is why it's so effective because like you know she had to experience it. We see her experiencing it, and we see her grief and her trauma as she's trying to get away with it. But then at the end, when she's realizing that that she did do the right thing, like that's beautiful to see. That transformation, but in terms of just sheer enjoyment, I mean, Daniel Craig as Benoit Blanc was just so funny. Because he's also someone who doesn't do a lot of comedy.
Yeah. Yep,
Like Chris
that's for
Evans
sure.
doesn't do a lot of comedy, also doesn't do a lot of villain roles. Like Daniel Craig doesn't do a lot of comedy. I mean, he's James Bond. He's supposed to be the cool, suave guy, and here he's
Mhm.
a donut hole. You know, like he has
Yeah,
this like
yeah,
thick,
yeah.
this southern draw about himself, and it's really, really awesome. It's so much fun
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
It's just so fun to see actors go outside their comfort zone. Like obviously Jamie Lee
Mhm.
Curtis is amazing, but like you know you kind of expect what role she's going to play, and she plays it great. Christopher Plummer, same thing. It's like you know what you're getting from him, and you know he's going to give a great performance. But like
Yeah.
Daniel Craig and Chris Evans, in particular, those two just doing something so different from what they usually do, which is so
Yep.
nice and refreshing
Yeah.
to see.
And I
Yeah,
will say, I don't remember his name, but not Lakeith Stanford. Stranford?
Stanfield.
Stanfield. I'm so sorry.
It's
The
okay.
other cop who's with him is very funny as well.
Oh,
Cause he's
Trooper Wagner,
yeah, because
Noah Segan.
he
Okay,
like
yeah, yeah.
geeks out about like knowing someone or
Mm-hmm.
something.
Yeah,
Or he's like, "Oh, I'm a big fan of the books." Like,
right,
"Oh my god, this is just like that location in that one book." Like
right,
he's
right,
just
right.
like
I
he's
forgot
so
about him. Yeah.
he's very funny like the whole
Mm-hmm.
time.
Yeah,
And
it's a really good movie. I mean, it is the essential like ensemble film. Like every single member shines, and there's no weak
mhm.
link. I mean, the weak
Mhm.
link when I saw it was Jaden Martell, the kid, only because he has probably the least bit to do. But even then,
Yeah.
he's still good, and he's had a great career.
Oh
It,
my god, what
um,
does he say when they all find out that she's getting everything in the will? He has this great
I don't
one-liner. I
remember.
mean, it's very racist because like he plays like they're
Right,
all like kind of, they allude in the movie that the whole family are kind of like Trump supporters just because, they're wealthier, so obviously they're
right.
going to agree
Hmm.
with someone more
Yeah,
conservative. anyway, but they do talk about that kind of administration because the movie was, written while he was
Yeah.
whatever. Let's
Yeah,
not
I'd also think
dwell
that's a
on
good
it.
thing too. That kind of like what we were talking about Snowpiercer. Like there are very good social and political commentaries in this. This is a lot more subtle than Snowpiercer. Snowpiercer is
Yeah.
very much like class, but this one is like it deals with class a lot. It deals with immigration and that whole
Yeah.
storyline too. What were you gonna say,
And
Kels?
the very subtle inclusion of all of them messing up, like, where she's from. They're like
Mm-hmm.
at some point, Jamie Lee Curtis says, like, "Oh, her family's from, like, Paraguay." And then, like, later on, like, Chris Evans says, like, "Your Brazilian nurse, that's who you're giving, like, all your money to, like, all your assets and things." And they
Mm-hmm.
all just, like, keep messing up, like, what country she's from slightly. And I'm
Yeah.
like, this is, like, it's not funny because it's just accurate. And I'm like, this is
Mm-hmm.
just horrible. This is a great, like, mirror for us to look at and be like, let's stop acting like this because this is
Mm-hmm.
horrible. This is
Yeah.
horrible behavior.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he,
So
anyway, I went on this whole tangent just
no, it's
because,
good.
like,
It's
the
good.
kid has a great one liner where he's like, you were, like, sleeping with my grandpa, like, you, like, dirty, like, something. And he, like, calls her, like, something, like, so racist and horrible. But I was just like, oh my God, like, coming out of that, like, little sweet boy's mouth, it was just very jarring.
Yeah. So we do have to talk about one last thing. We didn't bring this up earlier, but Snowpiercer, they actually have a series now of Snowpiercer where Daveed
Oh,
Diggs
with
plays the
Daveed
lead,
Diggs.
which I haven't seen, but I heard it's great. And then also we have a sequel to this coming out,
Mm.
which is Knives Out 2. Netflix bought the rights to 2 more Knives Out movies. So what they're going to do for this franchise is they're going to basically take Benoit Blanc, Daniel
Mm.
Craig, and put him in a whole nother like murder mystery.
Is
And
Ryan Johnson a part of that?
yeah, yep,
Part of
he's
it?
doing them. Yep,
Okay.
which is
So
good
there's gonna
because
be
his writing is
so
strong.
there's 2 more Knives Out
There's
movies?
2 more on the way, and here's who's confirmed for the next film so far. Dave Bautista, the guy who plays Drax, will be
Nice.
in the next one. Edward Norton, our Incredible Hulk, will be, or some people's Incredible Hulk, not ours, but
Not
he will
not
also be in
my
it.
Incredible Hulk.
Janelle Monáe, famous actress slash singer. Leslie Odom Jr. from Hamilton fame, also in One Night in Miami and a bunch of other films, will be
Mhm.
in it. Kate Hudson will be in the film, as well as Madeline Klein from Outer Banks, which I don't
Mhm.
watch, so I don't know. Jessica Henwick from Love and Monsters, who is a Pickle Award nominee for Best Kiss.
Okay.
And last but not least, there are going to be more announcements, but Catherine Hahn, Agatha All Along, will be in the next Knives Out, along with Daniel Craig. So that is going to be really, really exciting, and I'm
Mm.
excited for that cast. Did I forget anyone? Oh, yes, of course I did. Ethan Hawke as well,
Oh,
who's also a
wow.
famous actor. So yeah, like so many good actors that are going to be in the next one. I mean, it's going to be sad because this cast was so good, but I have no doubt it's going to be a fun adventure next. And I just love Daniel Craig as the detective, so it'll be fun to see him in another murder mystery, because that's what all the old books used to do. They used to have a detective, like
Right,
Hercule
yeah.
Poirot, who would go to different, murders and solve
Yep.
different crimes, like Sherlock Holmes. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I cannot wait to see what that is. Any more thoughts on Knives Out?
Well, I'll tell you what I gave it on my
Yeah, I'd love
Evans
to hear.
scale.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 8 out of 10.
Really
8
nice.
out of
Good
10.
job.
Yeah.
So tied with Snowpiercer then. So you would equally recommend both of these.
No, I give
Um,
Snowpiercer a 7.
so this
So
is
I
the one
would
you would
recommend
recommend.
this one more
Okay.
than Snowpiercer.
So if someone said, "Hey, Kelsey, I want to watch a movie with Chris Evans in it, but I am sick of watching Marvel movies. What do you recommend?"
Oh my God, Dill, let me tell you about this great movie, 2019, Knives Out. You'd love it. It's a whodunit. Chris Evans wears a knit sweater, a cable knit sweater in it.
Wow.
It's fantastic. Great film.
Last thing to talk about before we move on to plugging our own social media. What you did text me that you said it was very obvious that Chris Evans was the killer when you watched this back a third time. I would
Yeah.
like to know that process because for me it kind of came out of the blue.
I mean, of
Out of the
course,
blue.
for
Yeah,
like
I guess that's the
for me as well. Like, I was also
okay.
surprised because, he's the person where it's like, no, he's too obvious. He wouldn't be the killer. So you immediately rule him out. With any whodunit,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, it's not going to be him because he's too obvious. I'm ruling him out. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
going to be
Because
her
he's the
because, like,
douchebag. Yeah.
yeah, because he's, they talk about him like being like the black sheep of the family. Like, he doesn't have a job. He really like relies on his grandpa's wealth mainly to survive and to hold, hold his status. He drives a nice car. He didn't even bother going to the funeral. It's just all these little moments. I mean, if you just like piece if you watch this movie and then you watch it a second time, everything that you learn at the end, you're obviously going to apply to the beginning.
Gotcha.
So we know that he skips out on the funeral. So obviously, like, he's up to some hinky business. Only the help calls him Hugh. And she says to Marta, as she's, almost dying, Franny, I think her name is, that
Yeah.
one of the maids, she says Hugh did this. And everyone mistakes it as her telling Marta, "You did this."
Right.
And
also the old grandmother with the window.
Yes, and she says,
Like,
"Ransom,
hello,
back
Ransom.
again? So soon?"
And
And
so it's
it's just
obvious
like,
when like watching back, you're like, oh, that makes
yes,
total sense. Gotcha. And then
yeah,
your phone theory as well, which you shared during Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
yes,
The fact that if a character is not using an Apple phone, that means they're the villain, because Apple will not let you use an Apple phone unless you are a hero in your own story. So the fact that
yeah.
Chris Evans does not use an Apple phone signals right away that he is not good. Which is
And
interesting.
people applied that to the end credit scene of Black Widow because Valentina does hand Yelena an iPad. She is using an Apple product.
Oh, so that
So
means it's
is she the antagonist, the villain? Stay tuned.
Or maybe that's one of those things where, she's gonna think she's the antagonist, but then she's gonna like team up with Hawkeye or something. But we'll get there when we get there.
We'll get there when we get there.
Looking at other Marvel actors, I don't think there's any other Marvel actors in this except for Chris Evans. Correct? I think. Frank Oz, he's not a Marvel actor, but that's pretty cool that Frank Oz is the guy who has to deliver the will. The voice of Yoda, the original Fozzie Bear / Miss Piggy, and the director of so many great films like A Little Shop of Horrors and Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. So that is a very famous person in that movie as well. So just a really good movie. 3 really good movies. Kelsey, how would you rank them just in personal liking of the films? Not necessarily if you would recommend them to someone, but like just your enjoyment / quality test or whatever.
I was having a hard time because I finished watching Snowpiercer and I was like, did I like that better than Knives Out? Like, is that possible?
Right.
I don't know. They're both so good. I think I would put them neck and neck, Snowpiercer and Knives Out, and then like underneath them, definitely like
not another
teen movie.
Yeah, not another teen movie is my third. I would honestly put Knives Out at 1 only because I think it's more rewatchable and it's easier to watch over and over. Like I find more enjoyment out of it. Like Snowpiercer is a heavy watch; it's a commitment.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
In quality, I probably think Snowpiercer is probably like the better made movie, but like Knives Out, it is very well made. The sets are great, the characters are written so well. Like
then again,
I really think it's
once you find out who done it, it doesn't become that much fun of a watch anymore, I feel.
True. I mean, maybe it does because you know it. I mean, it's like one of those things like The Sixth Sense where like if you know the ending, is it as good throughout? Like if you know Darth Vader is Luke's father, is it still good? Which it is. But
hey, I told you not to spoil Star Wars for me.
Damn it. I meant Zurg is Buzz's father. I don't know what you heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anyway, that concludes our Chris Evans movie club. It was so much fun talking about not another teen movie, Snowpiercer, and Knives Out. Kelsey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can find me on TikTok. I did it again.
Find me a TikTok.
Oh my God, that is so embarrassing. You can find me on TikTok, Cause13. And then you can also subscribe to my YouTube channel at Cause Productions. I don't know if it's already out or when it's coming out, but if you are
still on vacation right now, so
if you are interested at all in seeing what my journey to Ireland was like, I'm dropping a video on my YouTube channel all about that. What I brought, what I packed, how I got there, what it was like. It's all there.
This video will be posted on the 16th, so I don't think you're home yet.
Okay. Well,
Are you?
I wasn't sure.
I don't want to tell everyone when you're coming home because I don't
know.
want them to,
No,
Yeah.
I'm not home yet.
But
And the
anyway,
video's probably
Kelsey's
not
in
gonna
Ireland.
make it.
Hope you're having fun in Ireland. Hope
Thank you.
you can bring some of that Irish charm to the next podcast and let us know how it is. For our news next week, I'll give you an update on the Scarlett Johansson stuff. Because it's been a few weeks since we talked about it. Since we're pre-taping this, there's probably been a ton of news that's come out. I'll talk about the lawsuit, and then you can give us a little bit of a lowdown on how Ireland was a little bit. And we'll make that the
I
news next
will.
week while we talk about the first 2 episodes of What If. So stay tuned. It's going to be a lot of fun. See you guys next time.